Good morning, everyone. This is Dan O'Sullivan with your Bucks Island area fishing report for Saturday, August the 23rd. Hey, we're going to be joined by Tom, Lee, and Tracy to give us their information firsthand. Gentry has passed on some information for us. He's on a call, emergency call, couldn't break free, was an EMT, but he's given us the information to share with you. Folks, we'll be right back with what the guys have to say. Hey, we're up here in La Crosse for the last Bassmaster Elite Series of the season, rooting on our guys, our Bucks Island pros. But we're going to check in with Tom Ott and see what's going on at Lake Guntersville. Tom, what's happening on the big lake?
Oh, it's a little steamy, Dano. I tell you, I wish Mother Nature would just make up her mind where she wants it to be summer, fall, or just stay summer for the rest of the year. But right now we've seen some intermittent rain. We've had some rain up north that's brought some water through the system, and you know, anytime you do that, it really helps the fishing a lot, especially this time of year. But I was talking to Blake earlier, and it's just the fishing is not terrible. It's not great, but it's not terrible. I think a lot of those fish are just kind of feeling like the fishermen are right now. We're ready to get there. We're just not quite sure we want to be there yet. It's hot and not really committed 100%. So still catching a few fish out deep. It seems to be more consistent for me to catch them out deep. But there is some schooling activity, which makes it a lot of fun. If you can get out with a little crankbait or a little top water and catch some fish, you can put some numbers in the boat. But if you really want to catch some larger fish, you're going to have to do some moving and some searching. And it's just been, like I said, it kind of dictates with the water movement. Not so much time of day or anything like that, unless you're not fishing. And it's just been, it's been a lot of graph using. How's that? That should put it in perspective. I've been running around with that graph, just putting a lot of gas through that mercury, and then when I see them stop, and they seem to be, most fish seem to be not, I won't say aggressive, but at least they'll commit to a bite. Usually catch two or three out of a smaller school, and it just it's just been a little bit different here lately. It's summertime, it's dog days.
Yeah, and are you still seeing maybe some of those deeper bluegill beds, maybe some bluegill beds around docks, and then are you seeing any striper activity?
I haven't really seen the striper activity, but as far as the bluegill, I mean, just about anywhere you go, the water clarity is really good. You see bluegill everywhere. So, there's just a lot of fish that are moving around. If I get up a little shallower, I like to throw a swim jig, kind of imitate those bluegill. The bite hadn't been stellar, but you can still catch a few fish doing that. Um, as far as a stripe, they kind of get mixed in. You kind of see the hybrids and some of those white bass mix in with the largemouth, and they call it to you. You see those first before you see the largemouth. But as far as just seeing any big stripe or anything like that, I haven't seen those big schools like I did earlier in the spring, but they're there. I just haven't run across them yet.
Well, brother, we appreciate all the insights. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you again next week. Hey, we got Tracy Robinson joining us, who's been getting ready for a tournament on Guntersville, but he's been staying in touch with the Logan Martin and Lay Lake activities, even spending a little bit of time down there in his off time. Tracy, what's going on at Logan Martin?
Yeah, Logan and Lade both still fishing okay down there. We'll start with Logan on the upper end there. We had a little bit of rain there, and that triggered some current, so that always makes the bite pick up a little bit anyway. Just get some water moving. That oxygen gets depleted in the summer, but as soon as that current comes on, they start just getting active from one end to the other. So whenever that's happening, I'm seeing a lot of fish out on the flats, and that's striper and bass. The striper about 6 or 8 inches long. You can throw anything from a rooster tail to small rattle traps out there and catch a ton of stripers. I've seen acres of little small stripers out there coming up, blowing up little shad on the flats. But mixed in there with them, bass too, mostly spots, but a few largemouth in there too. But riding around looking for that's kind of the easiest bite right now, Dano, and just kind of chasing those schooling fish. You can really throw about anything you want at those fish, top water, rattle traps, anything, and they're going to eat it. I mean, those guys that get out there and see what I'm talking about, it's literally acres of just, blowing up shad right now. I'm not seeing a lot of really big fish, anything over 2 3/4 to 3 pound fish, but just your typical schoolers. If you're interested in getting after some of those larger spotted bass, you got to get out there on some of those ledges. They're still hanging out on some of those hard points and ledges, deeper crankbait, Carolina rig, your, I don't know, drop shots, whatever you like to really throw at those, 12 to 15, even out to 20 foot deep spotted bass. Largemouth still kind of pulled up in the shade. The creek bite starting to pick up a little bit. I can see the creek temperatures are about 8 degrees cooler right now than the main lake, so I'm seeing a little bit of migration of not only the bait fish to the creeks, but also some of the largemouth are starting to pull in there as well. So that's kind of the deal for Logan right now.
What about Lay? What are we seeing out of there?
Lay's still fishing okay. It's not just wide open like it was for a couple of weeks there. The early and late bite in the afternoons is probably still the best deal there. I talk about grass every time. You can't talk about lay without talking about a little bit of grass there. The grass bite in the morning is still the go-to thing for me. I'm picking up a buzz bait and just covering tons of water, trying to run into one or two good fish in the mornings. You could probably slow down a little bit and probably pick a few off, but for me, I'm just staying busy with a buzz bait and covering territory. Once that sun kind of really gets popped out, picking up the 3/4 ounce to 1 ounce heavyweight, flipping in my favorite creature baits in there. I throw a lot of net bait, pack a punch, different things there for my plastics. But it's probably not really detrimental which bait, but something in those thicker clumps is producing fish in the middle of the day. Spotted bass still out there. You see a few of them blowing up, chasing like we're seeing at Logan, but just not the acreage like we see. But I'm seeing a little bit of that going on as well. The night bite's still pretty good. They're still catching 18 to 20 pounds in the night tournaments, at Lay. So it's fishing okay.
Well, sounds good, brother. We appreciate everything, and we'll talk to you again next week. Hey, we got our brother Lee Pitts joining us. Lee's the man when we talk about Weiss Lake and Neely Henry, so we're going to talk to him about those again. Lee, what's going on Neely Henry?
It's your typical summertime, the dog days of summer. It's just the bite is still okay, but it's just a slow. Still got a little bit of a top water bite in the morning. More out on some of these longer points, things like that. Up against some seawalls, anywhere you got a little bit of cover. And they're not really wanting to chase. Excuse me, not wanting to chase it as much as they do with that water being hot. It's just one of the things. A spook, some kind of little prop bait, something you can stop, slow down a little bit. That seems to be the key here lately. And as the sun gets up, you can kind of put that away. And still, it's a good shade bite around wood cover docks, up in the grass right now, and you can find that little bit thicker grass, something that you can kind of punch in there and get some of those fish that are tucked in underneath that, just to get out of that sunshine. And the key to it right now is whenever they start moving that water. When they start moving the water, that kind of brings everything alive. It gets a little bit of oxygen flow in there. So that's something that you really got to look for.
Upriver, can you start flipping those trees that are on the bank and looking for the current flow and kind of doing that deal yet?
Yeah, and it's been productive this last week or so. It's starting to pick up on it. The wood that they're relating to is the key to it. That and the current. You can go up there and flip the same little stretch of bank, and when they cut that water on, it's the difference in night and day. I mean, they really really have to have that water flowing to get them positioned up where you can catch them.
All right, let's switch to Weiss. What's going on there?
It's been about the same. More this week. We've had a little bit of rain coming in. It's got some of the water, more movement. It's got some good color in the water. They're keeping it up high, so the dock bite has been good. Also, the grass bite here. Something you can slow down a little bit, just pitching it. The worm bite's been pretty good on some of these long points. Downsizing a little bit. Shaky head bite, some kind of small creature bait that you can just drag around. A speed crawl. I know a lot of guys been throwing a speed crawl out there deep, and even pitching it around some of the log jams, lay downs, things like that. Um, Also, we really hadn't seen a lot of schooling activity here. I don't know what it is. Normally, this time of year, you've at least got a lot of white bass schooling. They're staying a little deeper right now and kind of backed off, more or less suspended out in the river. So it's something that when you roll through them on your graph, you can see them. I mean, it just blacks your graph out, and it's one of the things. If you want to take some kids out and get them out there to have a good time, you can drop down on some of these white bass and get bit.
Lee, as always, brother, we appreciate everything, and we will talk to you again next week, my friend. Hey, we're waiting on Gentry Gordy, who's actually out on a call as an EMT right now, an emergency call out. So what he's done is send us the information so that we can share it with you. So we're going to pass on what Gentry had to say about fishing at Lake Martin and at Jordan Lake. Let's start at Jordan Lake. Once again, if you want to be active, current, chasing the fish, you want to get up current when the up river when the current is flowing. As they begin to pull water with these rains, you're going to get current. All of those little laydowns, all of those little outcroppings of rock, points, those kinds of areas are going to have big spotted bass behind them. Lots of fish are going to gather behind them, but the big spotted bass are going to be a little bit more susceptible to that. A jig on the bottom around some of those kinds of things, a good football head jig, 3/8 half, maybe even a 5/8 ounce with a good trailer on there is going to draw a strike. Swim baits, heavy swim baits that'll get down in that current, 5-6 inch long baits. Those are going to draw big strikes. Of course, you could get some crankbait bites, and you could also do some flipping around some of the laydowns up there with a tube or a creature bait or something like that to be able to draw a few strikes there. Of course, if you're down lake and you want to get around the grass, you might be able to get one or two around with a frog. And then on some of the points, some of those outcroppings on the lower lake, a shaky head worm is going to be really good. We like that 6-inch style. Red bug is really good. Plum, those kinds of colors on a lake like that. Lake Martin, probably going to be the best to do a nighttime bite, especially on the weekend. There's going to be a lot of boat traffic out there. That is the recreational area for the south, right around the Montgomery area, around the Auburn area. Those boaters are going to be out there, so please be careful if you're going to go out during the daytime. If you're night fishing, look for docks that have green lights around them. You're going to gather bait fish there. Bluegill are going to gather around. You could throw a crankbait up there, a nighttime spinner bait, maybe even a jig will produce a bite or two. Of course, a big worm at night is always an effective deal. If you're going daytime fishing, get out there early. You might want to get off the water a little bit early, but you still have a chance around some of those seawalls with a popper or a walking bait, maybe even a buzz bait in the morning to get a good quality bite or two. Then you're going to be turning to some offshore stuff. Brush piles, some rock outcroppings on some of those points, flats, some of those areas on the out towards the ledges of the main river channel and some of those main creek channels where you have current. Those are going to be productive. Big worms, shaky heads, maybe even a drop shot. Of course, if you're a forward-facing sonar fan, you want to get out there and scan around and find some fish. Those fish will be suspended out there at Lake Martin, and it's a good opportunity to work on your skills with that. But folks, that's the Bucks Island Area Fishing Report for Saturday, August the 23rd. Thanks to Gentry for the information, and we'll talk to him again next week. Well, that wraps up our Bucks Island Area Fishing Report for Saturday, August the 23rd. We hope that helps you put a few fish in the boat. Thanks to the guys, everything that they do every week to help us stay current on the information. Don't forget, folks, we are on our off-season hours. We are closed Monday. We are open Tuesday through Friday, 8 to 5, Saturdays, 8 to noon. But we are there to help you get on the water, stay on the water, and put fish in the boat. Thanks for being the best part of Bucks Island, and we will talk to you again next week.